the Harbir Singh Podcast.
It's a huge honor for me to have Dharmveer Singh on the podcast today. This is going to be a vitally important podcast, so make sure you like, subscribe, comment. Make sure you share this one with anyone who you know is affected by this topic that we're going to be discussing today. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. How are you doing, Pastor?
Yeah, I'm good, Mark.
Thank you for agreeing to do this, because it's a sensitive topic, but I was thinking about it today and I thought this is something that I don't know any up in our family who hasn't been impacted by this in some way, whether it's through a neighbor, a friend, or closer to home in terms of a family member, a father. So it's very gracious of you to talk about this, because it's a big saver.
Oh,
okay, perfect. No. Yeah, so sorry about that. It's just might be a bit annoying.
Okay.
Can you take us back and tell us a bit of your background? So you're Scottish, unfortunately.
Oh, I grew. That's a bonus.
Definitely.
You're very lucky to have a Scottish brave but sick on your podcast today, I said. Yeah, so I was born in Edinburgh, local lad, and born in a Sikh family, but born more in Punjabi culture family, so a lot of partying hard and things, and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my upbringing. But then Maharaj Kripa, I got into Sikhi around about the age of 23, so I took a sort of different path from my whole family actually. But Guru's Kripa, there's five brothers, and out of 5 of us, 3 of us took Amrit, so it was a massive game changer in the house through Guru's Kripa. So a lot of us went down that path, so spent a lot of time in the Gurdwara in the last sort of 15-16 years now, which has been really good. But it had his ups and downs as well, and I'll get to that later on
so,
the podcast.
What drove you at 23 to pivot and go down a different way of life to what you were seeing around you?
I think it was just like more awareness of myself. If I'm very honest with you, I said, it was when I was at a club one day. I'm not, afraid to admit that. And I was out clubbing, and I was looking at myself in the reflection of one of the kind of glass mirrors in the club, and I could see the star. I could see this dada. I used to tie it up, as Punjabis do, with the kirpi grip and the fixo and all that. And I was looking at myself in the mirror now, and I saw, I've got this star of the Guru, and I've got this dada that Maharaj has blessed us with. And then I just thought I looked like a sort of fraudster. I'm in this club, a place where I don't think it's safe to be for any person, and especially things that go on. And I just thought, this is not for me, and I'm joking myself for being in this club. Just seeing that reflection really changed my whole perspective. And then from that day, I came home to my Signy and my wife, and I says, you know what, I don't think I'm going to go back clubbing anymore. And the funny thing is, she was quite shocked when I said that to her, because I think she suspected that was a thing that boys do. But it was like, no, I'm not going anymore, that's it. And she kept questioning me, but I said, I'm just content with what I've got. I'm happy with you, I'm happy with our kids. I'm just going to, and I had 2 kids at the time. And I said, you know what, I had 1 kid at the time, 1 on the way. And I said, I'm just happy like this. I'm just going to stay away from there. And then that was it. I just started changing, and Guru's done so much Kripa from there, where I started reading Gurbani, like Rera said. That was my first introduction to Gurbani, was Rera's, at the Gurdwara. And then when I started listening to Rera, automatically the power of Bani just changed me, and I just started coming towards Guru Sahib.
You were Bana, right? How's your experience of being like a Kes Dari with Kes Prakash and like Dara Prakash and Bana in Scotland?
Vijay, you know what? That's the beauty. So a lot of Scottish heritage is very similar to Sikhi heritage as well. So they obviously in Scotland, they wear the kilts, and it's all about the brave heart, and they have the swords and things like ski and do, which is like a little sharp, not a kirpan, a dagger that's worn in the sock, which is called a halved in Scotland. So because of those reasons, I think it's very easy and more accepting in Scotland, I would say, walking about like this, where, no disrespect, I've come to England a few times, in a few areas that I've been with my Bana on, I've had a wee bit different kind of looks, even though Sikhi is quite strong in England, and maybe the Bana's not more like on the streets compared to maybe like over here. I'm walking about in the streets of Edinburgh, and it's got a small city, so I get noticed, but I've never had any issues But I think it's all about mindset. If you're confident and positive in what you've got on, and you feel happy, with inside, I think that shows automatically that people then think, you know what, he's a nice guy. He's got a ban on, but he's a nice person and he's doing well and he's meaning well. And I think that comes across if you just stay happy and smile.
Do you get lots of questions about, what are you, who are you?
Yeah, I do a lot. And I'm going to share one very quick story with you, Paisa, which is really important to your question, is that why it's so important to stay positive and stay confident within yourself with who you are, with your dara, your bana, your dastar, or whoever. Because I one time walked out of my apartment and there was these kind of young lads that came up to me and they obviously started laughing and calling me a few names. So one of the things he says was, Aladdin, where's your carpet? Magic carpet. So, as a Gursikh one time says to me, if anybody ever, comes across like that, don't be angry, think about the Guru at the time and just, I saw a smile. And what I did is I turned it into a little bit of a joke. So I turned around and said, today my carpet's actually in the garage, so I'm taking my car today. and with that, because they heard my accent and thought, this guy's actually from Scotland, he's one of us, he's from here and he's got a Scottish accent, they then just laughed and they goes, then they turned around and instead of, dissing me, they actually said, we love what you've got on, you look amazing, take it easy mate, and walked away. So I just turned that negative into a positive just by, being a bit humble and smiling and cracking a little bit of joke. So if you come across a little aggressive and, uptight, you're going to get this hassle back. But you won't if you just smile and just say something funny,
That's really
And I learned that from my Gursikh actually. Yeah. Apart from that, I get Mariskirpa, I got a lot of good compliments from people just saying you look amazing. I went to London once with my Singini and we're going through the streets of London and she was dressed in normal kind of clothes as you do Western clothes, and I had my band on and I was getting stopped from loads of people in London City and just saying, wow, you look amazing, I love the colours and things like that. And it was funny because my wife goes, I'm here as well, but it just says, well, that's it, that's Guru Skirpa, nothing to do with me, it's all Guru Gobind Singh Ji Skirpa that blessed with such a beautiful roop. Why should we just destroy it or don't be proud of it?
That's amazing. That's really inspiring. Wow. Yeah, because from my experience, I think I'm probably a bit more hostile. I'm probably looking for a fight in terms of someone giving me the wrong look or saying something, and I think that does attract that type of energy to you. If you're hostile, you're going to attract hostile people. So I think that definitely does make sense. That's interesting. I'm going to try and be a bit nicer and make some jokes. But yeah, I find London. I find Scottish people lovely. By the way, I was making a joke at the start, but we've been to Scotland 2 times now to see a friend Bully who lives up there, and both times our experience has been wonderful.
Right.
So tell me about what happened with your health.
Yeah, so it's been a year already. September the 11th. I was just working from home, during the pandemic. So I work for the Scottish Government, so we've been working from home since last March 2020. And it was on the sort of Wednesday, I think, which would have been the 9th. I started feeling something like in my kind of jaw, sort of neck area, but nothing that was really alarming me because I've always been quite a general kind of healthy kind of person. Well, I thought I was, generally quite fitness levels not bad as well. Trying to look after myself as much as I could. So I just kind of put it down to heartburn. Like automatically I just said it must be heartburn because it came straight after my lunch. So anyway, I just continued my working day and then it went away, by itself sort of an hour later. So I thought, hello TK, that's okay. There's no issue. So the next day, Thursday, which would be the 10th September, it came back again, similar time at lunchtime. So I was very confident this must be heartburn. And again, same kind of feeling, sort of a neck area, like almost like a burning sensation going down the neck, and sort of a little bit jaw as well. But if I would say uncomfortable level, I would say about 6, but pain, I would say about 2. So it wasn't bothering me. So I continued my day working. I had a meeting with my boss at 2 o'clock. And then I logged off that day about 3:30, a little bit earlier than normal because I was getting a bit agitated. So I decided that I'll get some heartburn medicine. So I got some Rennie sort of drink from the chemist downstairs from our house. And then I drank that. And soon as I drank that, the feeling of that had settled down. So then that made me just put 2 and 2 together, and I got 20. I thought it must be heartburn. It's soothed now, so I'm okay. So I says to my wife, just give me a couple of bits of toast tonight for dinner. I'll keep it very light, and that will do me, and I'll have an early night. And if I'm not well in the morning, I'll phone the doctor on the Friday morning. Anyway, so I went to bed about 9:30 after eating some toast, and by this point, I started feeling a bit under the weather. So I knew it wasn't COVID, because it wasn't those kind of symptoms. It was more like you getting a flu symptom with the kind of sore shoulders, a little bit of back area, and then again, I say the neck and the jaw. And again, I could feel a little bit here, but I was still confident it was heartburn. So I went to bed about 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock on the Thursday night. I was drinking loads of fluid, like water and things, and obviously had the Rennies and that as well. And then I woke up about 12:30, midnight. I needed to go to the toilet. So I went to the toilet and I came back out, and then my wife says, "Are you okay?" And I says, "Well, not really. I think I'm going to phone NHS just to get a bit of peace of mind, because I can't wait till Friday morning, in the morning. I'll just phone just now and see what they say." And described all the symptoms to them. And unfortunately, they never picked up on it, because they did offer me an appointment at 2:30 in the morning to come in. So I goes, "You know what, that will do. I'd rather go now than wait until the actual morning." So I goes, "Okay, let's get ready. You can take me to the hospital," I said to my wife. So I started brushing my teeth, washing my face, and then I went to the mirror to tie a small case ski turban. And then when I looked in the mirror, I looked really pale. But again, if I'm honest with you, even at this point, I never had it in my head that I was having a heart attack. I just continued, and then basically the first thing that I remember then was I was feeling a little bit faint, but I did a first aid course back in 2017, and from that first aid course I remember something when we were doing the first aid course was, if your left arm starts to get pain down it, it's a sign of a stroke or a heart attack. And at that point I got that left arm kind of sensation, like pain kind of coming down the left arm. And as soon as I got that, I just quickly said to my wife, "Call the ambulance," because that was a sign for me. And that was the only point, I think, of those 2 days where I knew, I think I'm having a heart attack here or something. So anyway, I called the ambulance.
How severe were your symptoms at that point? Sorry to interrupt you. Like out of 10?
Yeah, no problem. So out of 10, I would say we were on about 7.
See, this is really interesting, because historically, like, you hear about the whole arm pain thing and chest pain and arm pain, but your presentation up until that point, even if someone came to see me, and I've been in clinician for 11 years, my first thought would not be heart attack, from neck tightness and discomfort in the neck, and at a 6 or 7, it just goes to show that it doesn't always. My brother passed away of a heart attack, as you know, and he didn't have, he had neck pain and he had persistent cough. But again, those aren't the typical symptoms that you associate with. He didn't have anything going into the arms. So, I read up after that a persistent cough can be a sign. Chest pain in the middle of the back can be a sign. I think it is really important for us to be aware that actually it's not always. You don't always have to just have pain in the arm to think, okay, left arm to think, oh yeah, heart attack. And it doesn't need to be, I feel like I'm going to die type of thing. It could be milder symptoms.
Yeah, now that's really interesting. I'm glad you touched on that. I think this is important for this podcast, that everybody, please do tune in and listen to this. It's really important that, don't discard it thinking nothing's going on, because it can be serious. And like you said, if I'm honest with you, I was continuing my days without thinking everything was okay, but really it wasn't. So I think we really got to be more attuned to this and more aware. So please do listen to what I'm saying, that it wasn't that bad.
The other two things that I picked up on that stuck out to me is, one, the evidence shows that men are much less compliant in terms of going to the doctor. So if they have issues, they'll be like, yeah, I'm fine. And I think more so with our parents' generation, it was kind of that thing where, kuch nahi hoya, just, you just keep going until you literally drop dead.
Right.
And so I think it's amazing that you actually were self-aware enough to think something's not right. I need to get this checked out, because it could be serious, right? And you've got family, you've got a wife, you've got people who are relying on you. So you can't just be blasé about your health. And I know that's easier said than done, because I'm at fault as much as anybody else. The other thing is the NHS Scotland sounds brilliant. Because I've been in that scenario, and where a child has been ill and we haven't been offered an appointment at like 2:30 in the morning. So if you had gone back to sleep, God forbid, or if you had just taken a Pepto-Bismol or something to help with something that may have masked the symptoms, it may have actually given you enough comfort for you to go back to sleep, and then you're not being picked up as quickly as it did. So kudos to you and Babaji for like really kicking things into high gear as soon as you thought this isn't right.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, Bicep. You're not the only person who's mentioned that. The specialists, the doctors, the paramedics, anybody I've spoken to says the exact same thing that you says, that my call was really good timing, but that's so important to pick up that don't disregard anything that you think you're feeling and try to be a bit of a hero. And I think exactly what you say is, this goes back to our culture a little bit as well, because it's true. My parents is like, oh, you'll be okay, tagra ho, what's wrong with you, banda ban, all those kind of things. It's really got into our heads as Asian men, and we think, no, we got to be strong, and don't you go to the doctors, you don't need pills or nothing like that. But it's important, like I said, if you've got people who are reliant on you and you want to be here to be with them, then you have to be more aware of these kind of things. And that call for me was the most important call ever made, and they came so fast. Guru's Kripa, the ambulance literally came out outside my house already. It was so fast. And they said, you're here now, don't worry, and then rushed to hospital, obviously. And they did say that the hospital should have referred you to it straight away, but I'm not holding any grudges on that. It is what it is. But I got there in time, and and I've got a stent put in, one stent, and fine, Maris Kripa, I feel fine after that. Very quick recovery.
It just goes to show how. So when I went to see my brother when he passed away, I haven't told many people this. I don't know if anyone knows this, but they didn't tell us that he had passed away, because they don't want to tell you that news on the phone, right? So they said you need to come to the hospital. So we went to the hospital, and then when I got there, they were attempting to put a stent in. But it was too far gone and they couldn't. So it just shows you how fine the line is between potentially like somebody making a recovery and God's grace you're here today, and somebody where it's not picked up immediately, or somebody doesn't seek medical attention and things get delayed, or then maybe they failed by their healthcare providers, because it's not a typical presentation. Particularly in the last year, the NHS has been swamped, so it's difficult to provide healthcare to 52 million people, with especially when the service is overloaded. But yeah, it's mind blowing to think that actually a few little differences here or there, and you might not be here today. So it's got really God's grace.
Yeah, I know, it definitely is.
Were you shocked when they like it can't? You realise actually you had a heart attack, because you're vegetarian, you're fit, you don't smoke, you don't take cocaine, you don't have like any of the typical risk factors of a heart attack, and you're young.
Yeah. Well, I was really shocked, to be honest with you. It took about 2 weeks for it to sink in. Obviously, when I felt the left arm thing, I had a feeling I was having a heart attack, and I felt a little bit faint. But it's only till she actually said it, the lady, the paramedic, who put the ECG machine on me, saying that you're actually having a heart attack. That's only really when it sank in. I remember saying one thing at that point, and I said, Waheguru, wonders creator God. If anybody's watching who doesn't understand the language, I said, Waheguru, I'm going nowhere. And I remember saying that to myself. And then at that point, I just thought, what can I do? So I just started reciting Job, said. And I just kept doing that, and on the way to the ambulance, on the way to the hospital, until I basically got to the hospital. But yeah, I was shocked. So 2 weeks sort of embedding, like, what's actually happened here, and why. I had a lot of why me, to be honest. But, I'm very thankful. I had a very good, network of people around me. Yourself, I said, you spoke to me. I had, a couple of things from London who were really, because I was like questioning myself, like, I'm in Sikhi, Maharaj Kripa, do a bit of seva, I'm a good guy, and I had all those kind of things going through my head as well. But then I realised it can happen to anyone, and I think the main thing is that I was more aware to sort of deal with it as well, and that kind of helped me through it. And then someone says to me, which is good, so it's happening today. So I appreciate that. Maybe it happened to me for a reason, because I look generally quite a healthy person. Maybe Guru wanted to test me, then I can then help people who are watching this video that you can learn from this experience and become better from it. So I think maybe that's why I got chosen, I think. And I took that as a positive, and that made me then get round it, a bit quicker, just from that advice.
And I asked that deliberately, that question, because that's often what people say. They're like, oh yeah, but ota khanda pindani and all this kind of stuff. So I wanted to just kind of clear up that myth. Because I one of the fittest people I know is a Caucasian lady who, she runs marathons, eats the cleanest, and she has high cholesterol. And it's not actually anything to do with her lifestyle, because her lifestyle couldn't possibly be any better. But regardless of what she does in terms of her lifestyle intervention, her genetics are such that she has dangerously high cholesterol. It's not necessarily something that somebody's doing in their lifestyle. We are, as Asian males, in a high risk population group. So do take it seriously. Don't think, I done a park runs once, I'll be alright. You really gotta keep an eye on this stuff, and check your blood pressure, infrequently, but maybe once a month or something. Just make sure that you get a blood test done for hyperlipidemia, like once a year. Everyone is justifiably allowed to do that, because we're in a high risk category, the people who are going to be listening to this. So do, especially if you have a family history, if there's anybody in your family who has high blood pressure or has had a stroke or heart attack in the past. Right, I'll get off my soapbox now. Is there anything that helped you during that period? Because I'm thinking about myself. If that had happened to me, I would be in the hospital bed, and I'd be a bit kind of down in the dumps about that. You mentioned, you touched on that, but is there any particular resources, people, things that people said that kind of helped you?
I think a lot of that maybe it's a saver as well. That kind of helped me. I know people might find it hard to understand, but it did really help me hearing that from a Singh. That maybe because, like what you said, and it's true, when you see this kind of paragraph under someone's a bit overweight and they don't eat very well, they'll think, oh, it happened to him because of that reason. But like you just said, it's not necessarily the case, because you're talking about your friend who's really fit and she's got high cholesterol, and that's what I had, high cholesterol. So my cholesterol was set at 7.3, and anything over 5 they say is quite dangerous. Maris Kirpa, I had a blood test done last week, and I got the results, and it's 3.7 now. So so I'm really, really happy with that. But I think just keeping a positive mindset, and I think if you manage to come at the other end, take it a bit serious as well, make those changes. Because one thing I heard from my rehab lady after I came out from the hospital was that, which is another helpful resource, is rehab. They offer it. It's not mandatory, but I took it because I was keen to take anything that I could at the time, because I knew I was going to be off work as well anyway for a few weeks. So I took the rehab kind of course, if you want to call it that, sessions, and she was really helpful. Just saying, please do take this serious, because you'll be surprised how many people come out of hospital and literally are in the next few months later on because they don't take things seriously. So I think the other real wake-up call for me, and again what you touched at the start, was I can't be selfish here. I need to think about my wife, my kids, my family around me. I thought, no, I need to really, So after getting my head around it in maybe 2-3 weeks, I just kind of said, you know what, right, none of this crash diet course, none of this, I'm going to do a lifestyle change. So I made some tweaks, really good tweaks, I think, and then that's, I think, made me more positive in my mindset now.
Yeah, so firstly, well done to you. That's incredible that you heeded that, you put warning from the universe and made that change. I know you personally, so I know that your diet and your lifestyle wasn't bad in the first place. So I think people will be really interested to hear what tweaks, because you mentioned the change in your cholesterol. You pretty much halved your cholesterol in terms of the bad cholesterol. So can you talk us through, give us a bit of a overview in relation to the changes that you made?
No, I'm glad you said that, because it's true. The reason I use the word tweaks, because it is tweaks, and like Bhai said, very fortunate to work with him in the past. I think what it is for me was the tweaks were really about the snacking side of things, and I'm not saying I was a big snacker, so maybe I lied to you a few times in some of the conversations we had, but I think the issues like sugar, for example, I've got quite a sweet tooth. That doesn't mean I was binging on sweets, because I'm nothing like that. I'm very health conscious, I always have been. But I think it was just saying to myself, okay, right, if I'm going to have a treat, for example, my tweak was going to be this, that if I'm having one sweet, but I normally used to have 3, I'm only going to stick to the 1. I think before I would have 3 maybe sweets, I now have 1 sweet if I do want to have it. That's one of the tweaks that I've made. The other one is that I've just cut back on so I was quite naughty in the morning sometimes with breakfast time. I used to like having kind of like veggie sausage rolls and all that kind of stuff. So I'd like to say one of the massive tweaks I did was the day that I had my heart attack. One of my meals that day was a vegan steak bake from Greg's. And I just wanted to say I haven't been back to Greg's ever since. So that was my last Greg's in 2020 in September. I haven't been back once, honest to God. So guys, stay away from Greg's, because the saturated fat in one of those pasties is like 60% of the saturated fat for the day, and that is ridiculous. If you're having one of them, plus your dinner and your breakfast and all that, you're just killing yourself with saturated fats. So the tweak is I've really cut out sugar from my diet. So I stopped putting it in my tea, I stopped putting it in my coffee, I've stopped all the kind of savoury the kind of like sugary snacks like the donuts, all that. Not that I was having that, regularly, but I was having it, I'm not going to lie. But it's more now, I'm having it as a treat. So when I have if I'm going to have something like a cake thing, it maybe be once every 2 weeks. If I'm having a sweet, it's maybe once every few days. And I'm talking about a sweet, and so that's my tweaks. That's the discipline side of it, which can be hard for some people to accept. And then another thing, another tweak I would say, I keep saying massive, but tweak's a small word to use, but thing as I say, which is quite important, is just cutting down of what I'm eating. So if I'm eating, for example, my prashadam, my dinner at night, I'm just having less portion sizes, more controlled kind of mannerism, and saying, you know what, that's me done, don't put me anymore, and I stopped there. That's what I would say, that's probably my biggest thing that I've done through my
that's amazing.
Year.
There's all these things out there, and the 2 things that you did was cut out snacks or reduce snacks and reduce portion size. It's incredible. It's the simple things that that work. Yeah,
so
amazing.
Simple. And then the last thing, Faisal, sorry, to add to the food side was I just upped my kind of like fresh, even though I'm vegetarian, upped my kind of fresh fruit and veg. So I buy those themed veg packets, and what I'll do is at lunchtime, instead of snacking on like sandwich and all, this is my probably like sad side of things that people might think I'm not doing that. That's up to you, but I'm just telling you what I do at lunchtime. Sometimes just pour that bag into a plate with broccoli, carrots, peas, sweet corn, just mixed up. A bit of pepper on top of it, and I just have that sometimes as a snack in the afternoon just to get me through the day. And it's good for you, and I don't mind it, and you can add things in if you want like a veggie burger or something like that, grilled, that's okay as well. But sometimes I have that at lunchtime just to get myself through the day. But I'm kind of like a 2-meal guy now, in the recent kind of times.
That's amazing. And I know that probably sounds, like you said, difficult for most people to do habitually, but if you've had a serious health event, it just goes to show how important you've taken this. Because if you just went back to eating Greg's every day, not that you ate it every day, but you know what I mean, it's a bit of a missed opportunity for a transformation, and
exactly.
the that you're doing, you wouldn't be able to do it so effectively if you hadn't changed so dramatically yourself. And going back to the kind of crux of it is, you've got kids, you want to show your kids that actually, I would personally want to show my kids that I did everything that I could do. So everything's in God's hands, but in terms of what's in my hands, like what I put in my mouth, I did my absolute best to kind of remedy that. So it's amazing. Can you walk us through like a sample diet plan? So I know people love that kind of stuff. What do you kind of eat from morning to night?
No problem. So my morning, which reminds me of bicep, is you know what? This is so sad for some people again, because I know I've especially in my own family circles, they cringe when I tell them this, but it's so nice. So my morning breakfast is porridge with semi-skim milk. I tried it with water and I almost felt sick, and I do not recommend it. But I seen one of my bodybuilding cousins having it, and I tried to give it a go, and it's the worst thing I ever did. So anyway, semi-skim milk with the oats, good Scots oats, and then once that's cooked, I put on chia seeds. I stir it with peanut butter, 1 spoon of peanut butter, but make sure it's one without palm oil. So look for that one, which is I think Meriden or something it's called. So this palm oil is bad for you if you obviously, especially you've got high cholesterol. So peanut butter, 1 spoon of that, chia seeds, and then just to finish it off, which I completely love, is a 1 teaspoon of honey and then some frozen blueberries. One of the best things, game changer, if I said, thanks for that. So that's my morning breakfast, and I absolutely love it, and I look forward to it in the morning, to be honest. So it's so tasty. And then my lunchtime, like I said, it could be either skip lunch or I'll just have because I'm training now, I'm in back into the gym, Guru Skipper. I'll have if I'm not on gym day, I'll have I'm saying bag of vegetables and maybe a veggie burger or something sometimes. If I'm training, I'll have that, plus I'll have a protein shake, maybe a couple of bananas with some protein powder and I put blueberries in there, and I'll just bang that before I go to the gym, and that's kind of my extra calories but good stuff. So that's what I have on a gym day, and then my night time I'll come back, and I've kind of cut down from 2 prashadhi, 2 chapatis, 2 roti, to 1. But sometimes if a gym day I might have 2 because I'm not having nothing else in the day, so I feel really rewarding that I can have those 2 prashadhi. So I'll have 2 roti with a little bit of whatever's made, so whether it's mixed veg or dal or whatever it is, just a little bit of that. And once that roti's finished, that's me done. There's no, and if I've got salad with it, I'll have loads of salad with it as well. So lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, and if I've got any sabji left, any kind of food left over, then I'll just use the salad to eat all that. I just will not go for another roti, but 2 is my max. If I know I deserve it that day, I'll have 2, but most time I'll have 1. That's one of my changes I've made. I went from 2 to 1, even though I can probably afford to do the 2, especially the amount of weight that I've lost. I'm just happy with the 1 just now, unless I'm really hungry or I've done a heavy gym session that day.
How much weight have you lost at your heaviest to lightest?
Yeah, so I was 11.5 stone, which I think 73 kg, and I'm now 9 stone. So I lost 2.5 stone, which I think is about 13 kg, 14 kg or something, or 15 kg actually. So I've lost 2.5 stone, but 15 kg. So I'm 9 stone now from 11.5.
I think there's 8 kg in a stone, so I think you lost 2 stones, about that much.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And you did that without exercise, right? It sounds like it was predominantly through diet.
It was just I would say 80% through diet, and then the rest was just strolling, walks. It was just walks. So every day I went for at least, when at the start it was very slow, obviously, because what happened. But then when I got into it, it was every day at least 30-minute walk minimum, 30-minute minimum, and then sometimes on to an hour depending about company or something.
Do you know how many steps you were getting in on
Yeah, I was keeping a track of that because I was doing minimum 10,000. I know that every 10,000 magic number, but there was some days I was doing 16,000 steps. But that's when I really got into the walking with one of my cousins who lives around the corner from me. He would go for a walk with me as well, and we used to do hour and a half walk, which was almost about 15,000 steps, something like that.
Amazing. And again, that's such a simple intervention, right? Going for a walk with a family member, you get to have a chat and catch up, and get some soul food, and you get some good stuff for the body as well, just without straining, without hammering your joints.
So underrated. So underrated it is.
Yeah, incredible. That's amazing. How did you I'm trying to think of the next logical question to ask. How did your family kind of deal with this stuff? Because I know what my mum would be like. She'd be like, "मैं तेनू दस्या सी के खाना चाहिदा है." That's why this happened to you.
You know what? Funny you say that. It's a very good question because my mum and dad are very, very strong people. Guru's Kirpa, very strong. My nanny ji, from Leeds, my mum's mum, who's passed away a few years ago, she was a very strong person. And I think that strong strength has went to my mum, and I think a little bit to myself as well. So my mum and dad were actually very supportive. I think without them, I would have really struggled. They were around every day, and really strong, and kind of embracing me and just saying, "Don't worry, just you'll be okay. These things happen," and really good. The only thing that my mum and dad struggle with, and I'm not scared to share this, is that they are a little bit old school when it comes to sharing these kind of things. So it took me so long to do this because my mum and dad are very against sort of talking about these kind of things. But I'm a big believer, especially being a Gursikh as well, that if you can't share your problems, it can't. That whole saying, "Problem shares a problem half." It's only half if you're sharing it with someone. If you can't share your experience with someone, how are they going to learn from it? So then it's only going to be half if they learn from your experience. So I stubbornly, had a conversation with my wife. I said, I need to do what I need to do. It's really important for me. No one's in control of my life, how long I'm going to live. But one thing I can do is share my experiences so someone can maybe live from my experience, and I had to just do it. So yeah,
100%.
That's what I'm doing.
100%. Like, unfortunately, I think our community is quite closed on a lot of topics. They kind of just like to pretend like they don't happen. But like you said, nobody can benefit if you weren't doing this. You don't know what impact, what ripple effect it's going to have. Someone could listen to this and they could just change their breakfast, but you don't know what impact that's going to have on their longevity and their lifespan. Or someone may share this with someone who's gone through and had something similar, and they may think, well, look at this guy now. He's lost 2 stones. He's full of life and energy. He's helping other people through his experience. So if he can do it, maybe I can make something of this. So unfortunately, people do go the other way. I know somebody who had a heart attack, and he said, if I'm going to die, I might as well enjoy my life. And he went on to a binge which lasted a while until he actually passed away, unfortunately. So it is nice to have role models, to have people who've been through similar situations that we can relate to, and we can see that this person's done something good from it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So anything else that you think is relevant that you want to share? I'm going to have a look at the other questions that came through.
Yeah, well, someone asked the question of what was I thinking at that point when I thought I was going to die. And that was quite a strong question, but I'll answer it because it's a nice thing who asked it. And, if I'm honest with you, I never thought about that. I just said, that's why at the start of this video I said, why Guru, I'm going nowhere. I just said, I'm not going nowhere. You're not taking me yet. So I think I had that in my head. But if I'm honest, again, Guru's Kripa, through my mum and dad, through my Nani ji, I'm quite a strong-minded person as well, and I never even crossed my mind. I just said that I'm not going nowhere. And that's all I said, and I just think that strength of me thinking that, got me through it. Tell you the truth.
That's really interesting. I'm studying something called the nocebo effect, which is the opposite of placebo effect. Placebo is when you think something good is going to happen, and it happens even though the substance you're taking or the intervention is innate. It doesn't have any power. Like it's like they might give you a sugar pill and say it's a treatment for cancer and your cancer gets better. So that's known as the placebo effect. Where the nocebo effect is when you say something or you think something bad's going to happen and it actually happens because you thought something bad was going to happen. So they've had numerous examples of this, and people should definitely look it up because the power of this is incredible. One of the examples of this was they got school children, and this is a famous experiment. So one of the teachers said to the children that the blue-eyed children are inferior to the brown-eyed children. The brown-eyed children are superior, and they're going to be smart, and they're going to be better at maths, and they're going to be better at reading and writing. And this programming of language, this programming of thought had an impact. So that's more of an example of placebo effect. But in terms of nocebo effect, they might give somebody a sugar pill and say you're going to vomit. A lot of people vomit when they take this sugar pill, and actually the person thinks that this is a side effect of the drug I'm taking. They take the drug and they start vomiting, where there's actually nothing in the drug. There's a famous case where Coke lost something like 250 million because they had to recall all of their drinks because somebody had a drink and they said they got food poisoning from it. Other children started getting sick and ending up in hospital. So there was this massive scare, and they had to recall all of their Coke. Whereas actually, there was nothing wrong with their Coke. It was just somebody felt that it was the Coke that was doing it.
That's very powerful.
So someone's asked early signs. So with yourself, there was no real early signs. It kind of came on when it came on, right? Over a period of 24 hours and.
Yeah, that was it. Just on the day, pretty much on the day, just the day before. Nothing before that at all. No, like things that made me alarmed that something's happening at all.
And prior to that, were your energy levels, was everything kind of normal? Were your sleep, everything kind of pretty much consistent?
If I'm honest with you, when we look back, myself and my Signe, we were talking about this, I think I did look a bit like kamjor, a little bit kind of like weak looking in the face. I remember being at a family engagement, I think about 2 weeks before that. And if you look at my face and some of the pictures, I do look quite like ill. So I don't know inside if anything was going wrong, and I never knew, but I did look a bit like, compared to Maharaj Kripa where I look now, I looked really down, I think, and I think maybe there was something going on that I wasn't really aware of, and it's making me feel that kind of like drained almost. But in general, if I'm honest, which is really weird, in 2020, I was cycling quite a lot. I was doing a lot of cycling, and obviously with the pandemic, everything being locked down, I was walking a lot and cycling a lot. So fitness levels were okay. It wasn't nothing like that was, I can't do this anymore. So it's a bit strange on that basis. Yeah. I never felt anything odd, no.
Which is really important. It's important for people to notice that there may be no signs.
Yeah.
Someone else has asked what are the biggest causes of heart attack. So in your case, they were known. The biggest risk factor is none of them apply to you. So you don't have a cocaine addiction. You're not alcoholic. You're not a smoker. You're not obese. You're not past a certain age. You don't have a hormonal issue. So it's it just goes to show again that. And do you have a family history? Is there any, like, without getting too personal, is there anybody in the family who's had this?
To be honest, like my mum's side, there's a little bit, but nothing major.
Nothing like immediate family, like within.
My mum's side a little bit, like my mama G basically, but that's it really. Nothing, no one else. So it was again quite like I took a long time to get my head around that because I was kind of trying to think of things that give me the reason of why it happened, but not really.
Yeah.
And not my dad's side, so
yeah,
I'm not sure.
So in your instance, without being a cardiologist or a doctor of who knows about this stuff, it sounds like hyperlipidemia, which is more of a genetic predisposition to accumulating bad cholesterol. So you wouldn't have known that. It's not always a lifestyle that's doing it, which is an important take-home message. We're all at risk as males, our age group. We're all at risk, and you hear about it in footballers, right? These guys train 8 hours a day, and they have myocardial infarctions. Like, they have potential heart defects that are undiagnosed. They have, there's a lot of this stuff that happens. So do take heart health seriously. Is there any advice that you would give to, like, when my brother had a heart attack, I started getting everything checked because I thought I don't want this to happen to me as well, and leave my brother's kids and my kids and my wife and my mum behind. So I had a number of tests done, and fortunately I worked at the hospital, so it was easier to arrange and easier for them to look after me. And I have some friends who are doctors, and they were able to refer me. But there's usually in 24-hour, there's 72-hour ECG, 24-hour blood pressure monitor. There's a stress test that they can do where they put you on a treadmill to check how your heart responds. There's a MRI that they can do to see the blood vessels of the heart, how those are functioning. So there are a number of tests that people can have done. What would you recommend? Let's say if you're a male, similar age to us, have kids, and you're concerned that you want to know whether you might have something wrong with the heart, what would you recommend?
I definitely make an appointment to the doctor, and you know, I realised you could use that excuse of being, especially if you're any Asian male watching this video. I would recommend going along with that, you know, under your belt to say I'm an Asian, I'm a male, and or even say it's in my family. I know it's a wee bit of a white lie, but the thing is, I think definitely get your blood pressure checked, and then just go for a simple cholesterol check. And 100%. I think at least that's of what's going on, because it's 2 days you get your results back. At least you know where you are, you know, in life. Because you know, my brother won't mind me sharing this, but obviously I've got 4 big brothers, and after what happened to me, you know, it prompted them to go and get checked. And my brother above me, he's been told he's got high cholesterol, so he's made a lot of lifestyle changes as well. And Guru Skirpa, his cholesterol is now kind of, you know, a manageable level and stuff without tablets or nothing like that. So, you know, I think it's really important. Simple tests, couple of tests, go to the doctor and just advise them you want to get checked out. And just that's the best advice I can give.
Yeah, definitely. And I think most people do have a family history. I have an uncle, my father, who had a stroke, so slightly different. My brother, so you know, and that's my family, but there will be a family history in most, I think, South Asian families. So that's definitely justification in itself. Like you said, it's not invasive. It's a fasted test to check your cholesterol that they'll do, or they'll probably check your diabetes. So they'll probably do HbA1c to check your diabetes as well as your cholesterol, because if you have diabetes, you have higher risk of this type of stuff. So they'll check both, and that's, you know, simple blood test to check both. And it's justifiable being in a high risk group to get that done. You don't have to have symptoms, and that, along with blood pressure, I think is you know, even if it's once a month, just to keep an eye on that. Did you notice? I don't know if you wear a Fitbit or anything like that. Did you notice any changes in your pulse? Or I know you didn't have any symptoms, but I'm always interested when we check pulse in the clinic. Sometimes when people have left-sided pain, I'll check their blood pressure, check their pulse, but I don't know whether actually pre-heart attack, also known as myocardial infarction, whether there would be any raise in pulse, or whether physiologically everything would be pretty much the same.
So it's funny you say that and you ask that question. This is embarrassing, but I don't mind telling you. So I wear an Apple Watch, right? And I've had an Apple Watch for years now, and you would not believe this. The functions that should have been on could have potentially picked up on an irregular heart rhythm, but that basically in my watch was turned off, because what happened was I recently changed watch last year just before my heart attack, and the preferences that were on in the old watch never flew. You know, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of transferred over to the new, it never came over to the new watch. So those settings were turned off. So I'm not sure. I think personally, from the experience of using the Apple Watch, I think it could have picked up an irregular heart rhythm, because I remember once in my old work when I was having my leaving speech done for my manager, which got quite emotional when I was leaving that department. I got quite emotional as well listening to what he was saying. That I got a ping on my watch just a few years ago, and it says unusual heartbeat detected for this time, because it went up because I was getting a bit emotional, and obviously a bit like what do you call it? A bit anxiety, like, because I knew I was going to have to speak next, and he was getting upset, and my heart. So I know the watch works really well, and I kicked myself for it. But I think if that ECG setting was on, it might have picked up an irregular heart rhythm as well. But I don't know. You know, I'm never going to know, and I don't want to know anymore. But it is turned on now anyway. But it was turned off.
I think that's an amazing thing. It's amazing how technology is going to play a more and more important role in our lives. And if that feature is there, then we should all definitely have it turned on. If you have a watch with that capability, if you have a high risk, if you're in the high risk category, why not buy the watch? I mean, it's a couple £100. It's you know, it's better than getting, and then you have that kind of backup there. And I know of actually dogs. They can train dogs to detect for heart attacks. There's actually Yeah, it's incredible, and they can alert, like they can get help for you and things like that. There's actually an episode there's a series run by the Rock, and he gets people to do these fitness challenges type things, and it's on Netflix. Can't remember the name. If you do remember the name, leave it in the comment section. And there's a guy on there who had a heart attack. So the health service in America gave him this dog, and the dog stays with him. And if his body is releasing those hormones that indicate a heart attack, I think it's creatine or something, creatine levels, or when his body is secreting that, there must be an odor that only dogs can detect, and so his dog will flag it up that this is happening, and he has a button on him which I think the human presses or something like that. It's incredible. It's incredible that,
wow.
and with technology, the integration of technology. Imagine your watch could alert emergency services, and before, while you're asleep, and someone could come to your door, and we're not far off that at all.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, definitely at the moment, if you fall over, the Apple Watch does detect a fall and calls ambulance.
Wow.
So, yeah. If you fall over hard, and your arm hits the floor hard, it starts saying going to dial, obviously, emergency services, and if you're okay, you just cancel it. But obviously, if you're not okay, then it will just call.
Wow.
So we're kind of there already with that. But I think what you said, that'll be the next thing. That'll be amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about that early. I wanted to ask you about the early signs, and I think that's that with my brother. He actually, my sister-in-law. I hope she won't mind me sharing, but she actually went to dinner with him a few days before. Actually, I think it's a few weeks before he passed away, and he was saying, "Oh, look at my pulse," and his pulse was 100 or so, which is a very high resting heart rate. And she said, "Oh, you need to go to the doctors," and he said, "Yeah, I will." And so in his case, I think there were some irregularities. And my point was that with the heart, there might be signs and symptoms, there might not be. But with heart stuff, from what was explained to me when I had all my checks done, is you either have a plumbing issue, which is your pipes get blocked, and then the heart doesn't get enough blood, and you can have a heart attack because the heart isn't getting enough blood and it freaks out, stops working. So that's one mechanism, and the other mechanism is the electronics issue. So the wiring isn't working as such, so the heart isn't pumping the right way, and so the change in the conductivity and the way the impulse is being generated and the way it's being communicated around the heart can cause the heart to kind of misfire, and that can cause a heart attack as well. So I think there's different kind of mechanisms. Some people have the electrics issue and they get a pacemaker put in to monitor that and correct it, and often people will have a plumbing issue, and for that they would need a stent to open up the artery, or they would need a bypass to replace those blood vessels to supply blood to the heart, because every organ, every cell in our body needs blood to function effectively. So I don't know if that made any sense to anybody, but if it didn't, just ignore that part. Listen to everything that you said. But I wanted to really take a deep dive into this topic, and from a everyday person's perspective, which is our perspective, because I think it's going to be of value to people who've been through it, or who potentially know somebody who's been through it. Anything you want to add?
No, I think that's really covered a lot of points, and I just hope that anybody who is tuned into watch this, just take stock of your own life and think about it, and don't be selfish and go for those tests. Don't try to play that game of, no, I'm a man, I don't need to go to the doctor, nothing like that. And don't think it's never going to happen to me either, because you just don't know, and please don't think like that. And I really do that beg you, that request. Don't think it's never going to happen to you, because you just don't know. Because I never thought about it, ever in my life that I was going to have a heart attack either. So I thought I was invincible, if I'm honest with you. So, please do take this serious.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me what you're working on at the moment with your work. Instagram.
Work-wise, I work in the Scottish Government, amazing job. I'm quite blessed to be working in government, helping a lot of people, especially through the pandemic. So I work in the third sector unit. So we help other like organisations like third sector, like charities, organisations, social enterprise, like fund them. So it's a real rewarding kind of job to see the results of people, getting funding from government.
That's amazing.
That's part of my role.
And with the Instagram stuff and motivational speaking, can you tell me about that?
Yeah, that's been really good. So I think I've always wanted to do something like this, but I hated social media, to be honest. And in a way, when I say hate, I'd rather be, face-to-face public engagement. I've always done things like that: school talks, universities, colleges, churches, police stations, everything. Guru's Kirpa, I've managed to get around. And travelling way up north and everything to different schools as well that who've never even seen a Sikh in their life. So wow. I've done a lot of that pre-pandemic. But obviously, during the pandemic, a lot of that stopped. So I just thought, let's come online. And, and I say this humble as possible. And those who know me will know I'm not trying to be egotistic here, but I've always been told from people I've got a wee bit of a gift of speaking or, maybe engaging the people. And they says, why don't you go online and start making some videos and things like that? So I thought, I'll give it a try, And I think last year made me realise that, you don't know how long you've got left, so use the time wisely. So I thought if I can get some videos out there, people can change it. And that's, I've done a bit of Seva as well. So I'm just jumping in the back of the bandwagon of the social media because you've got no choice at the moment because there's not been much public engagement, happening for me at the moment.
That's incredible, and I'll leave links to all of the stuff that you've put out. I'll leave a link to YouTube and Instagram as well, so people can check that out. And it's definitely if you want to hear more from Bhai, then that's the place to go. That's the place to learn more. If you had to give one piece of advice to a younger person who may be watching this, and it's a very general question, what one piece of advice would that be?
Just honestly stay positive. Always stay positive. That's my favourite word because it's been a very hard year with a lot of negative things going on. Just stay positive, and I think if you have a positive mindset, it'll let you do anything you want. It will let you conquer everything. Your training, your discipline, everything. Positivity is the key. Honestly, I can't say that enough. Stay positive.
That's amazing. And to add to that, how can people practice positivity? Is that is it reactive? So when you have a negative thought, putting a positive spin on it? Is it journaling? Like how do you instill that in a character where you might not naturally be a positive person?
Well, you're bang on what you just said. That it's trying to. I'm quite a reactive person, so if something happens, I always think for a split second: is it worth crying over? Is it worth getting upset? Is it worth getting angry? I think no, really. I always use the pun here, wear my heart on my sleeve, and I think for me is that life is too short to just hold grudges and be horrible, and you see it all the time as well on social media. There's so many negativity on social media as well. So I'm quite a reactive person. If I see something negative, I just try to spin it around and put it into a positive mindset and think, you know what, it could always be worse. Always think about it could always be worse. And you know what, like you said earlier on, Bhai said, is that you got to take control yourself as well. Sometimes, as much as we don't know, all in Waheguru's hands, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But there's things you can do yourself that can just take control of your own life and make those changes.
100%. You can't blame God for binging on a whole pizza.
Exactly. That's it. So just try to turn anything I hear negative. Just try to think: is it worth it? Just take it and spit out orange peel. Eat the orange inside, take the orange and leave the peel behind.
It's amazing. This has been a wonderful conversation. I've really enjoyed it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your candor and your warmth, and like you said, wearing your heart on your sleeve. That really comes through in your conversation. So I hope people connect with you. I hope they follow your journey, and I hope they get inspired by it and it changes and saves lives.
All right, thanks, Faisal.
Okay. Bye.